Hey students, it's Dr. Huber. I am the SAP counselor here at Leesville, and I'm here to talk to you today about stress. Stress is super important for us to talk about because it affects all aspects of our lives. It's also really important to talk about our mental health too. A lot of times we focus on the physical side of our health and we go see a doctor about that, but we don't take good care of our mental health. It's all part of our health. There's really no distinguishing that because it's going to affect things in your life, in your body, in your head. So it's really important that we take good care of ourselves. So that's what I'm here today to talk about. All right, so where does stress come from? Lots of places. Some of us have been dealing with things for a long time, so we've been stressed for a long time, and this is not a new experience. For some of us, the pandemic has brought out more of these things too. Maybe you've already had some stuff, and this has made things worse. So maybe now you've got a pile up of things going on. But whether it's one thing or a few things or a whole lot of things, it's important to know that stress is not a competition. This is not the Pain Olympics. It's not that one person's stress is bigger than another's, or that some people's issues are more important to talk about. Everybody's issues are important to be expressed and validated. So if you've got things going on, it's really important to talk and share about that so that you can get support. Some signs that you might be stressed. So I'm looking at the stuff in the middle. That stuff is more affecting our physical body. So sometimes we might think we're sick, but it turns out that we're dealing with stress and it's showing up as physical symptoms, headaches, stomach aches, it's changes in our sleeping or in our eating habits. So not just looking at the emotional side of things and how that affects our mood or our concentration, but looking at that physical stuff too. So if these are signs that you're going through, it could very well be stress. It could be other stuff too, but things to look out for. All right, so what do we do? So I got stress. We know about it. How are we going to deal with it? So first thing is setting that tone, acknowledging that those are your feelings and that's valid, that this is real. Stress is something that everybody goes through, and I wish I could protect you from that. It's part of the human life experience that we have stress. Sometimes we have more stress than other times in our life, but know that you're not alone. And going easy on yourself. You're dealing with a lot of things, especially right now with remote learning, trying to balance all that out, and that's okay. So stop some of that negative self-talk that, oh, I shouldn't be dealing with that, or this is not important for me to talk about. No, this is giving yourself that grace. And so mention talk about it. So thinking about who you can share those feelings with, someone that you trust, someone that's compassionate too. Sometimes we have people in our lives that give us that good support, and sometimes we have friends that don't know what to say too. So kind of figuring out who you can go to. Starting out with looking around your room. What does your room look like right now? I won't show you my office, but my office is a little messy, and it helps to get organized because sometimes you can't find things. Where are things? So starting from square one, organization. And I'm not saying this has to be perfect and tidy, but maybe getting an organized idea of where things are at. Or it could be organizing your ideas in your head too. So not only organizing your room, but organizing your life in a way that maybe setting up a to-do list or things that you need to get done for a certain class, and putting that up so you can see it. So looking at organization and cleaning your space. This doesn't have to be your living space. It can also be your mind as well. Okay, so bottom line, when it comes to stress, the biggest thing that it affects is your brain. So how are we taking good care of ourselves in the first place? So sleep, number one thing. Are we getting enough sleep? Probably a lot of us, the answer is no. So for teenagers, it's actually interesting. You actually need more sleep than adults do. It's actually recommended to get 8 to 10 hours of sleep a night. And you're like, okay, how am I going to do that? And it's tough because a lot of times we're going to sleep later, and with the teenage brain in particular, the chemicals in your brain, that melatonin in your brain, that sends a signal that, okay, it's time to go to sleep. It actually gets sent later when you're in your teenage years versus adult years. So if you're going to bed late, it's not totally your fault, because your brain's actually wired that way. So you're going to sleep later, and you also have to get up really early. We start school super, super early. So a lot of times we're not getting enough sleep. So knowing that, what can you do about that? What can you do before you go to sleep? So looking at what screen time, how much screen time you're spending, not only during the day, but right before you go to bed. Try to take a break from that 30 minutes before you go to bed, because there are studies that have been shown that the blue light coming from your screen, whether it be your phone, computer, it actually disrupts your sleep, and it actually affects the kind of sleep that you get. So try to make a habit where 30 minutes before you go to bed, just get away from the phone. I know some people talk about putting a red filter on their phone, and sometimes that's effective, but there's still some light coming through there. So get in a better habit of actually 30 minutes before you go to bed, shut that off. Healthy eating patterns, and this is not, you have to eat this particular food in this particular way. It's about a pattern. So doing things in moderation, making sure you're getting enough food, and having that balance with things is what we're looking for. And in the end, give it a break. So your brain needs to have breaks too. So maybe you got a lot going on, so just spend some downtime where you're not doing anything. You're like, when am I going to find time for that? Maybe it's just 5 minutes where you're taking that time to just relax in that moment as well. Okay. So getting outside is another good tip. So not only does the outside air provide us with that oxygen and give us those healthy moments, but vitamin D also affects our mood as well. So a lot of times you're thinking, hey, did I even go outside at all today? If you haven't, take a moment, even if it's 5 minutes. And when you go outside, pay attention to the five senses. So if you're like, what am I going to do when I'm outside? Well, you can go for a walk. That's a simple thing. But even if it's just standing outside and noticing things, maybe that you haven't noticed before, just notice the color of the leaves, the sound of the birds. So there's some organization tips about 5 things that you can see, 4 things that you can touch, 3 things that you can hear, and so on. So that's a quick way to go outside for 5 minutes and notice those 5 senses, and figuring out from there, just appreciating that moment. All right, working out. Working out has multiple benefits, not only for our physical health, but it also affects the chemicals in our brains, as what releases endorphins, and they call those feel-good chemicals. So it has a lasting effect, not just during the workout, but after the workout as well. So there's a protective factor as well. So thinking about working out, it can be simple as a walk too. It doesn't have to be strenuous, but doing things that you enjoy doing is the key. All right, derailing the stress train. So sometimes we get in this habit where if we're stressed out about something, that train's going down and we're hearing that replay in our heads over and over again. I got to worry about this. What am I going to do about this? What's going on with this? I got too many things on my plate. So how do we get that stress train off the tracks? And get it so it's not replaying that message over and over again. So that's trying to do what I call a brain break, to disrupt that, to just distract your brain in that moment, to think about something else. So music is a good tool. It's something that maybe you even pick out a song that triggers a happy memory for that. Maybe you went to a concert with a friend and that was your favorite song that was played that night. So maybe it's something along those lines. It could be relaxing music. It just could be music that you simply enjoy. So getting your brain focused on something else. Doing things that you enjoy, different hobbies, different activities. Again, focusing on things maybe that you are creative with is a good strategy, because you're putting your energy into something that you're producing. It could be music, it could be art, but it could be things like sports, watching sports, playing sports. It could even be doing things like hanging out with a friend too. So doing something that you enjoy, getting your mind off of things. Entertainment, this is something that I like to use, especially if I have students in my office saying, all right, let's go find something on YouTube or TikTok that's mindless, something that's let's watch a stupid cat video on YouTube. So finding things that are fun to watch, get your brain focused on it. Doing something that it doesn't really require a lot of thinking, just something fun, something silly, just to get your mind off of it. And reaching out to a friend. And it doesn't even have to be talking about how you're feeling at that moment, just maybe it's distracting and talking about something else. So when we switch our focus onto something else, it stops that replay in our brain. Now, does it make it magically go away? No. There are still things that you need to deal with. But in that moment, maybe the stress is so high that you can't deal and manage with that. So that's a way to take that break. All right, mindfulness. So mindfulness is actually something we've talked about a little bit already. Mindfulness, the key is staying present in the moment. So being aware of what's going on right now. Oftentimes when we stress and we worry, it's about what might happen, the what if situation. So we're thinking about the future. We might even replay events that happened in the past and really just focus on that. I can't believe that happened, or I'm really sad due to a relationship breakup. And so we're just replaying those thoughts in our head. So either one of those, we're not living in the present. So mindfulness pulls us back to that present moment, if only for a little bit, to kind of refocus on what can I control? Because what you can control is the right now. We can't control what other people are thinking and doing. Only things that we can control in our life is our behavior and our reactions to other people's behavior. So how do we get back in that moment, in that here and now? Is paying attention to our breath. So sometimes we do this, we don't even realize we're doing it, that we walk into a situation where we have a big speech to give or something, and we take a deep breath before we do that. That's actually mindfulness. When we take a breath, it actually sends the signal to your body, to your central nervous system, that things are okay. And it sends oxygen to your brain to calm down. So there's actually a medical response to that. There's a biological response to it. So mindfulness is rooted, not only with paying attention to what's going on around you, but it's also rooted in biology, which is really cool and interesting. So it can be as simple as, let's take a few deep breaths. So putting your hand on your heart and putting your other hand on your belly, and take a few deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth, and seeing what that feels like, seeing how you can feel the rise and fall of your lungs too. And then if there are thoughts that do pop up in your head, that's okay. We can't shut our brain down. We can't shut those thoughts away. But the important thing, this is non-judgmental. This is not to say, I can't believe you're thinking about other stuff right now. Clear your mind. That's not what mindfulness is. It's just trying to stay present, trying to stay in the moment, forgiving yourself and saying, it's okay, those are just thoughts that are popping up right now, but I'm going to go back to focusing on my breath. All right, so some mindful activities. I already mentioned taking a breath, finding mindful moments. So I've actually already given you a few of those when we talked about going outside and those 5 senses. That's actually a mindful technique. That's considered a grounding technique, as we call it. So mindful moments could also be throughout the day, spending time maybe with your pet, and you're appreciating that time that you spend. So just looking at that moment and appreciating the here and the now. A gratitude journal, or it could just be talking about things that you're thankful for. That's mindful. So it could be at dinner time. Maybe everybody goes around and says, what is one thing that worked well today? What is one thing that you're thankful for? Maybe once a week you write down, come up with a list of things that you are thankful for, things that worked well. And it doesn't have to be really heavy. It can be something simple, like, I'm really grateful for chocolate, or I am really thankful for the Dollar Tree, because that's an awesome store. So it can just be as simple as that. Maybe it's you're creating a few things. Maybe it's a long list. Maybe you're doing an A through Z. It's nice to even post that on your mirror or something, so it's something you can remind yourself. We often think about the bad thoughts, and those tend to stick in our brain. We watch the news, it's all bad. It's usually never good stuff, right? It's bad, 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 bad. So trying to remind ourselves, hey, there have been some good things. There have been some things that have worked, and trying to remind yourself of what those things are, because we often forget, and sometimes we take that for granted. Meditation, so that's a more formal practice of mindfulness. And where do I find stuff for this? Well, I've given you a link there, the bit.ly LRHS Mindful is a list of resources that I've created for you that includes also apps on that list for meditation. So things like Calm or Headspace, you can actually download to your phone and find meditations to do. A good one to do is right before you go to sleep. There's ones that you can search for subject, like search for sleep meditations. It could be nature meditations, different topics that you're dealing with. So that's an easy way to practice that form of mindfulness. There's also on that link, there is yoga links on there. So there's lots of free yoga stuff on YouTube to get into, as well as recordings, and it can be little stuff. So the meditation stuff can be a minute. It doesn't have to be a half hour kind of thing. It can be a minute, it could be 5 minutes, but the bottom line is to do things that make you calm and happy. All right. So the overall picture here is don't sweat the small stuff. And I know that's something that really depends on the person of how they're viewing things, because if it's big to you, then that's important to talk about. But some things have a quick solution, and maybe we didn't realize because we just didn't ask. So communicate your needs. I have students that go, hey, I got this big issue. I said, oh, you know what? I can talk to your teacher. We can get through that. And they go, oh, okay, that's a lot more simple than I thought it would be. So connect with someone so that maybe it's something that can be resolved fairly simply as well. But if it is something that you are struggling or dealing with, please reach out for help, whether that's at home, with somebody at school, with the counselors here, like with myself too. We are happy to help you. I meet with students once a week. I meet with students when they need stuff. So it really depends. So some students I meet with regularly. So whatever that you need, whatever works for you. Sometimes I get emails saying, hey, you know what, last night sucked. Can you meet with me tomorrow? You really want to take good care of yourself. And that's a great, strong way to do that. It's looking out for yourself. There's going to be times when you need more help than others. And that's a good way to do it. All right, so I mentioned connecting with the counselors. So we have a website. You can go to Leesville's website and go to Leesville's website and then go to students and then our website, connect there, or you can just type that in directly, but that's a different way to do it. We have a personal help page. So once you're on our website, you can go to resources and then personal help. That mindfulness link that I put before is on there, as well as lots of other stuff. And also feel free to send your counselor or me an email, and my email address is right there. Thank you so much for letting me join your class today. If you have any questions or need any support, please feel free to reach out. Thank you.